And welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I'm doing my review of Dragon Academy. This is my Wings of Fire unit study that I made to go with our homeschool this year for 6th grade. Okay, so basically I'm going to give you an overview of what it is, how we used it, and then obviously my opinion, how it went through the year. Okay, so the Wings of Fire unit study, Dragon Academy, was based on the first 6 books, so books 1 through 6, here they are, of the Wings of Fire series. It came with a teacher guide and a student book. And I initially made it for our language arts portion for our literature. That's what we were going to do with it, but then I ended up adding our other subjects in it, which we'll come to. So basically, you need Wings of Fire book 1 through 6. You also need Usborne Write Your Own Sci-Fi and Fantasy Storybook and Usborne Write and Design Your Own Magazine. So this is the Write and Design Your Own magazine. I don't know where we put the other one. That other one you wrote in, so I probably filed it away in our 6th grade curriculum box, but this is the second book. You also need a field guide to griffins, unicorns and other mythical beasts, and which is this one. And those books are based on 3 of our projects that we do throughout the year, which is a project picture book, a creature magazine and a fantasy story and writing project. So those Usborne books and the griffin and unicorns are used for those writing projects. However, for the Wings of Fire books 1 through 6, you'd have chapter questions and then scroll activities that would go along with each reading assignments that you did that week for each book for 1 through 6. So she would have her chapter questions to do after she'd read, and then she'd have her scroll activities, which were more in depth and included completing different written activities, some art in there, additional printables that came with the unit study, such as character profiles for the different dragons. This was for a fun shopping list for a fun activity that we did, where she did a feast for the dragons. There was Venn diagrams and maps, in addition to the scroll paper that she would use to complete her assignments. I made a schedule for each week, so 1 through 36, and basically every week she would have her assignments of what she needed to read, and then she would do her chapter questions Monday through Wednesday, and then on a Thursday and Friday would be when she would do her scroll activities, which usually would be 2 to 3 per week. So basically she would do each question that she needed to do during that week, and so basically 6 could be more, and then for each scroll activities there was 2 to 3 that she would do. So she would do her chapter questions Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday she would do her scroll activities. So for her 3 big language arts projects, she had to make a picture book, which was from the first Wings of Fire book, so the Dragonette Prophecy, and she had to pick a scene out of here and do a picture book version of it for a younger reader. So that was her first project. Project number 2 was to create a creature magazine. So it could be mythical or it could be real life creatures, whatever she wanted. That was what this book was for, to help her. So basically this went through everything about putting a magazine together. So from writing it to presenting it to printing it, to everything that you could possibly need to know about magazines. The other book, the Usborne Write Your Own Sci-Fi and Fantasy Story, was for the final project, which was to help her write her fantasy story, and that basically was much more based on how to write a fantasy story. It had lots of bits where they had to write in the book and everything else, so it was much more consumable. That Write and Design Your Own magazine is something you could use, again, in my opinion. You don't have to write in it. And then, as I said, she had her scroll activities, which was writing, and then she would complete the printables, such as character profiles for each of the characters, Venn diagrams where she compared different characters. And then once, at the end of each book, she would have to make a character trading card for each of the characters that book was mainly based about, because books 1 through 6 predominantly feature the story of one of the dragons. The others are all in there too, but as I said, book 1 is mostly about Clay, told from his point of view, and so on. So by the end of the whole curriculum, course, unit study, whatever you want to call it, she'll have made 6 trading cards for each of the characters. So that was the language arts portion, but then I decided, because she wanted to do Dragon Academy, that I would incorporate other subjects into it. So what I decided to do was do our science as part of it, I also decided to include dragon art, and I also included legends, which was our dragon history. So this was our legends, and it was based on the DK book Dragon World, which is all about, this is a fantastic book. It's all about different dragons from all over the world. So I included maps where you could show where the dragon was from, printables like this where you could give more detail about the dragons that you were studying. And then each week you'd have 2 days where you do different activities. So for example, you would read certain pages, then you complete a dragon printable. There was a dragon story in there that you would write. And it was all in the teacher guide, so explaining what you'd be doing. So basically there were printables for all these different activities that you would do to go correspond with this book, Dragon World. So for example, you would write what are dragons, there'd be a printable there for that. You would draw dragon eggs, you would design a dragon egg, you would look at the earth, so the layers of the earth. There was a dragon signs page, design your own dragon. You'd write a story using a keyword outline method with your dragon tail. And then I also put some video links. So that's what the history was, Dragon Legends. We also did a mini unit on China for geography. So this was our China unit, and again we used this book all about China, stories, songs, crafts and games for kids. This was such a lovely book, great information in there, and again I broke it down week by week for the different activities that you would do with the book, again which was on the schedule, so it'd tell you what chapter you needed to read and what activity there was that week for geography. For dragon art, we used the How to Draw Fantastic Dragons and Fantasy Creatures book. And again, I would break it down, telling you what pages you needed to do, and what you would be doing, what you would be drawing that week for your assignment. And this was a fantastic book. We really liked this book. I also added the Wings of Fire book because she did finish this one before the end of the year. So I also included this one so she could pick specific characters from the series and draw those as well. For our Griffins, Unicorns and Mythical Beasts study, again we used this book which has all the information on here for each of the different creatures, and again there was a printable that you could use to go along with these, and again it was scheduled for you. So it would say here the book you'd be using, Creature Magazine, there'd be a printable, or you could use the DK Animal Atlas and pick a real creature to research if you preferred. Again, it would tell you what creatures you're supposed to be doing for this particular assignment. I did mention the optional extra of using these books as well instead. So this is the DK Children's Book of Mythical Beasts and Magical Monsters. You could use a DK Animal Atlas if they wanted to do a fictional, non-fiction, a real character. And then there was the Fantastic Beasts if they wanted to do some creatures from here as well. For language arts, I also did include some extra printables. So there was a vocabulary printable, or what happened in this chapter printable, a figurative language printable, talent writing, which we'll come to in a second, and dragon grammar. So after they finished the questions, you would see this page of printables in your teacher guide, which you could give them throughout the week. So for example, you might say, okay, Monday, as well as doing your chapter questions, you can do a vocab sheet. Tuesday, as well as doing your chapter questions, you can do a figurative language printable. And basically, they would keep a track of figurative language used throughout the story that they could use in their own writing. And this obviously is to help them if there was any words they didn't know about. And then obviously this is what happened in the chapter. In case you found they were forgetting a lot when they were reading, they could keep a track of what they read so that when they came to the questions, it'd help them. But I did put in the teacher guide the page numbers. It's not in the with the answers, not for every single question, because some of them obviously the child needs to give their own opinion, but for ones where it was a direct yes or no answer, I would put the page number so they could go back and help themselves to find the answer. So they won't obviously have to come to you if you haven't read the chapter or whatever. They could go back and have a look in your teacher guide. Again, I did put the answer, but not in there. It's just the page number to help them refer back to the question. So they weren't, this is the student guide, so they weren't having to ask you every single time. I did put some links to videos at the beginning of the unit. So for example, in case I didn't know what an epilogue or a prologue was, I did put some figurative language videos in as well, in case they didn't know what that was, to help them so that they could complete their printable. And they were all clickable from your teacher guide. They were also clickable from the schedule as well. I did also include a supply list. Okay, for science, we used our Pre-Center book, which had all our experiment sheets in. And this is what they look like. And this is for helping us when we were doing our experiments to complete. And the science that we actually did as part of Dragon Academy was we did kitchen science from Nomad Press, we did biomes, biodiversity, and geology lab for kids. So those were our main science, if you like, but we did actually include science experiments you can eat and the kitchen science cookbook. And again, you would see them scheduled. So it would say on here, for example, it would say kitchen science cookbook, and then it would tell you what experiments or activities you'd be doing that week. So for example, bread in a bag, which is fermentation for kids. Well, there's a video there for you to watch all about fermentation, science experiments you could eat, and then again it would tell you what page number to do, and you would complete your experiments in the Pre-Center book. The reason it's called Pre-Center is because in the Wings of Fire book, in book 6, when they open their school, the Pre-Center is where they all eat. And because a lot of it was obviously kitchen science, science experiments you can eat, that's why I decided to call our science unit the Pre-Center. Just a fun way to do our experiments this year. Along with our science, we also had our elements book, which was for when we were doing kitchen chemistry, a part of it, and we used the Scholastic periodic table book. And basically this is such a visual book if you've never seen it before. It has the elements, it has all the information down the side about it, obviously lots of pictures to show its uses, and we would complete an element sheet detailing everything about that particular element. I would just schedule that throughout and choose what elements I wanted her to do. And when it came to our geology unit, again we used the same principle. We would do our geology lab for kids with the different science experiments in, but just to add a bit to it, we would do our principles. We would complete a sheet for the different gems, minerals, and rocks that we were learning about from our rocks, minerals, and gems. That's what we did for science. Now for IT, I scheduled 2 books throughout the whole course. Coding for beginners using Python and build your own website for kids. Again, it was scheduled on your schedule, what pages you would read that week, and obviously what activity you'd be completing. Coding for beginners using Python was the first book, and then towards the middle of the year we switched to build your own website for beginners as part of the schedule. And these are fantastic books. It helps them to download the software, which is a free download, and then they just complete the different activities each week for their Python, again with their website for beginners. And they complete the activities throughout the year. I did put some optional extras in what we really enjoyed. My daughter loves the Dragonmania Legends app on the Kindle Fire, as well as Rise of Berk, which I think is on most devices, not just the Fire. And again, some ideas of things. I have a Pinterest board, and obviously you can do lots of different activities, as well as the language arts that I've already mentioned. The other thing that we did was talent writing. So basically talent writing was to showcase writing and to make their own book of what good writing looks like, to help them when they're writing their own stories. So I picked different sections of writing for her to copy. So copy work, talent writing is copy work, out of the book. And the things that I focused on was descriptive language, figurative language, where something was brought to life, good dialogue, how to punctuate it, that kind of thing. And what I did was, over the summer, I printed on one side the text I wanted her to write, and then on the other side the scroll type paper where she could copy it. Now obviously I can do that for myself because it's personal use, but I can't obviously copy someone else's writing from their books and print it out like this for you. So what I did was I put in the teacher guide the pages that I'd picked with the line numbers for the writing that I picked to use, and then obviously you could be then free to type it out yourself. So I'm obviously not getting done for copyright. So I just put chapter 1, page whatever, 10 for example, lines 7 to 12, and then that's what I typed up into my book. Obviously you could pick different lines, you don't have to pick what I picked. You could just go through the book yourself that week and say, okay, well this, I want you to copy this to this section and write that down in your planner for them or whatever. But I just found it was much easier to get it prepped over the summer, and it was all ready to go then. And what I did was I put in between the passages I put blank paper because my daughter loves to draw. So what I would do is after she's done her copywork, she could then go to the other page flipped over and then just draw if she wanted to a scene. So I put some blank paper in between each section so she could draw in comic style or whatever if she wanted to what she'd just written about. Okay, so my opinion now and how it's went. So this took me, out of all the units I've made, I've done quite a few. I did Magic School Bus, I did my history units, and then obviously we've got Dragon Academy. This took me the longest to do, but oh my goodness, was it so worth it. We have had a blast. It has been fantastic. We have absolutely loved doing Dragon Academy this year. So we love the Wings of Fire book series. I read it to her as a read aloud, and then this year she's been reading it herself as per her assignments. We have loved it, absolutely loved it. She's loved reading it herself, and we read through the whole series a couple of years ago. I think there's 20 odd books. Fantastic series, can't recommend it enough. I decided to only do books 1 through 6 for this unit because obviously it's quite lengthy what I had to do, but we have thoroughly enjoyed it. So we've loved the chapter questions, we've loved the scroll activities. There's been so many fun things in here that I picked that has just gone down really well. So from writing stories, from making the character trading cards, to our feasts that we had where she went shopping for different tropical fruits, the writing assignments, the creature magazine. She's not finished yet because we're on week 30, but her creature magazine is amazing. I'm so impressed with what she's come up with. The assignments have just been so fantastic. The reason I picked a picture book for one of the first assignments is it's something I did in the last year of primary school too. I made a picture book for a younger child in a younger year. I love her picture book. It's amazing. The dragon legends has been fantastic. It's been great to learn all about different dragons, where they originated from. We've really enjoyed talent writing. Doing all our experiments with our Prey Center time, with our Nomad Press has been fantastic. We've loved doing the coding. The drawing book, I've got a whole, I gave her a sketchbook to put all of her dragons in, so we've got that to look back on of all the different dragons and then mythical creatures towards the end that she drew in this book. It's just been so fun, fantastic, great learning experience. I do not regret for 1 second spending all the time I did making this unit. We have just absolutely loved it. It has been fantastic. I can't recommend these books enough. Even if you don't want to do a unit study with them, read them. They are absolutely amazing. I think the writing is really strong for the age group. There's so many ways you can learn through it. I did actually put a section about how you could use dragon grammar. So I did put all instructions in here of how you could use dragon grammar using sentences from the Wings of Fire. I didn't pick the sentence, that was up to you, but I just explained how to do it, what to do each day if you wanted to use the Wings of Fire books as part of your grammar. This guide had all the instructions in for everything, even how to do a keyword outline if you've never done one before. I also gave optional extras you could do. So for example, book 2 is Tsunami's book, and that's a lot of it spent under the ocean time. So I put that you could do some ocean notebooking if you wanted to. I did make a cover with ocean on there and put some pages in if you wanted to do notebooking under the ocean as well for your science. I did also mention you could do underwater world history as well as the legends, because legends did not take up the whole year. So if you wanted to do, you could do that as well. That's another book. Looks just like this, except it's underwater world history. I didn't make any pages to go with that because it was an optional extra, but that's something you could do as well. But everything we have done, we have absolutely loved. I can't recommend the Wings of Fire series enough, and I'm really super happy with how everything has turned out. There isn't anything I would actually have changed, which doesn't always happen, because sometimes I make things and think, oh, I wish I'd done it this way, but I was really happy with the schedule. This really helped me. I saved so much time writing my planner because a lot of it was on here. I would just basically put the basics of what we were going to do, so I just put scrolls. I wouldn't go into detail because I know that it was in my teacher guide what I was supposed to be doing, and here, so the questions are all here, and obviously the video links were all there. So I did prepare this ahead of time, obviously, before we started, so it had all the video links that were here on my page for me. I could just click on it. So for example, I put some video links here for when we were doing biomes. So I put that we could look at the Usborne Geography Encyclopedia as well as doing the biomes book from Nomad Press. And for each one, so for example, we were talking about tropical rainforests in the biomes that week, the Nomad Press book. So I found the relevant pages from the Usborne Geography Encyclopedia just so we could expand on it a bit. And then I would put some video links because we love watching videos to go along with our lessons. So that was all done as part of the schedule, which I really appreciated when I was going through my planning for the week and that, because all the video links were already there. I didn't have to find anything. I could just click and go. It's just been fantastic. We've loved all the experiments that were in addition. So from the Kitchen Science Cookbook, science experiments you can eat, and we're still going to be doing some of those over the summer, either repeats of ones that she really liked or ones that I didn't pick, because obviously I didn't put every single experiment that was in there. I just put what ones I thought we would like. But yeah, from our Chinese feast night for when we were doing our Chinese book to our feast for when we were doing one of the Wings of Fire book, we just had a blast. Absolutely loved it. So that is Dragon Academy, which is based on the Wings of Fire books 1 through 6. And yes, fantastic. Elements has been so fun as well, using these Scholastic books. I'll link everything I can. I think I've already done a flip through of this curriculum unit study, however you want to describe it, before, so I'll link that below as well if you want to check that out. But yes, fantastic. We've loved it so much. Obviously I made it, so it's not like an unbiased opinion, but I am being as unbiased as possible and saying that we did really, really enjoy it. And I would say if there was anything that we hated, because there's no reason not to, and there was absolutely nothing that we didn't enjoy. We really loved it. It has been such a great unit. When I say unit, it's taken us our whole year because it is based on 36 weeks, but it's just been fantastic. The schedule has saved me so much time with my planning. Like I said, if you've watched any of my planning videos, I had to write the bare minimum because it was already all in here. The videos were there. It's just been fantastic. So yes, that's everything for today's video. If you've got any questions about Dragon Academy, let me know below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.